What's going on, peeps? It looks like y'all enjoyed my video on the appeal of Tally Hall, so I think it makes sense to tackle another project created by these former Tally Hall members called Miracle Musical, or in Japanese, Mirakara Miwako Kira. Okay, I can't pronounce that, guys, I'm sorry. This side project was formed by Joe Hawley in 2012 after the release of Good and Evil, featuring additional producers Ross Federman and Bora Karaca. Did I pronounce their names right this time? Seriously, I was getting bodied in the comments last time because of my pronunciation. Anyway, this was a highly requested video. Miracle Musical has only released one album titled Hawaii Part 2, which I might consider to be the final Tally Hall album. My first question is, where's Part 1? In this video, we will be discussing their music and history in depth. I anticipate having a lot to say. It's a Tally Hall spin-off after all, so let's get started. Following the beginning of Tally Hall's seemingly never-ending hiatus that began after their final show on August 20th, 2011, Joe was in the studio with Ross and Bora, helping out with mixing, recording, and production, putting together a new project titled Miracle Musical. Joe is obviously a big fan of musicals and recalled a family trip to Hawaii in the summer of 1997, where he could hear this music in his head that he thought about producing at one point. In 2008, Joe found this book called The Secrets and the Mysteries of Hawaii, A Call to the Soul by William Chills, that inspired him. There was a diagram of a stellated octahedron that Joe perceived as a correlation with a Hawaiian-style melody he had conceived in his mind in 1997. Joe had a vision, an album with a life of its own. Hawaii Part 2 was described as a genre of infinity. Some popular television shows will create spin-offs to build more story after the original show's finale. In this case, Tally Hall was succeeded by Miracle Musical. Each track of theirs would have a writing credit from Joe, so he's the only one that knows that meaning to any of this madness. This musical project also involved other former Tally Hall members, Rob Cantor and Zubin Seji, who would record vocals for specific tracks. More than 30 people were involved with this album. This surely gave the three a mighty task in terms of organization. As described by Bora, people would happen to be in town in Los Angeles and would just swing by, pop in, and put their little piece in. Joe isn't the lead vocalist for each song. To give off this theater vibe, Maddie Diaz duets with Joe on Black Rainbows, Seji and Stephanie Koenig duet on White Ball. Bora takes over Space Station Level 7 with his one semester of Japanese. Shane Moe and Charlene Kay perform Labyrinth, and Cantor helps out with Time Machine. Even Andrew Lawrick, the former housemate of Cantor and Horowitz, does vocals. This was a team effort that pretty much helped Tally Hall go out with one more bang. Now, not every track from this album was originally created during these sessions. Some of the songs originated from demos Joe had produced as far back as 2002. The Mind Electric was just a Joe demo from 2002 that was originally called Inside the Mind of Simon. That name will matter in a bit. Besides being this genre of infinity, it includes multiple genres of pop, rap, ballad, electronics, and rock. There's a theme of outer space, ancient myths, tropical paradises, parallel universes, love, mortality, and enchantment. Sounds like a musical, alright? But a huge inspiration for this project was the terrorist attacks that took place on September 11th, 2001 at the World Trade Center that everyone knows as 9/11. The Twin Towers are represented in the album title as the number 2 in Roman numerals. On the event's 11th anniversary, Joe released his first single following the Tally Hall hiatus called Variants on a Cloud. He had been posting on Twitter about this link, www.hawaiipart2.com. At first, there was a countdown on the site, set to September 11th. The site's logo became clickable, which led the user to a PayPal page that allowed you to pre-order the album. It displayed a countdown trailing to December 12th, 2012. Variants was initially offered as a bonus track to those who pre-ordered copies of Hawaii Part 2. Some might call it the 0th track on the album. It incorporates musical elements from other songs like Murders, Isle Upon Thyself, Dream Suite in C Major, and Tally Hall's own Ruler of Everything. You can catch an initial version of the song in a blooper reel featured in that concluding montage for this episode 10, Good Night, if you're curious. The track was written and performed by Joe and Cantor. It's an indie-tronica track with a vocoder lead tackling the grim subject of 9/11 from the perspective of two people with differing views watching a smoky cloud from the Twin Towers. One person is more on the conspiracy side, and one is more religious. Both are trying to identify whatever could be happening. It's a sign from God. No, it's just a cloud. I can't believe this is happening. Why does this even matter? More lines like this just keep running over each other, almost like there's some sort of argument between the two. Further references to Jesus, high wire artist Philippe Petit, and Roman Emperor Caligula's paradise. The song also mentions the unfortunate victims who decided to jump from the tower to avoid a worse fate. There's an address of how the tragedy completely changed how our generation views the world. At one point we thought we were out of those dark days, that history had been written, time to enjoy our magical freedom, until that unfortunate day. Since then, specific people wonder why we keep bringing it up nowadays. Why did we go back when it was so tragic? Surely it's worth forgetting. Joe believes we should remember that day, even when we're old and grown, as it had a clear impact on our society. It's sometimes seen as the last Tally Hall song, leading us to December 12th, 2012 at exactly 12 o'clock, 12 minutes and 12 seconds a.m. While many were eagerly waiting for a specific time to capture glimpses of the so-called apocalyptic day, an album named Hawaii Part 2 quietly appeared on Bandcamp independently. It has 11 tracks and a 45-minute long runtime. It went on to become a cult classic, not receiving a whole lot of recognition until the 2020s during the TikTok boom. Murders, The Time Electric, and Labyrinth all went viral on the app. It seems to be growing in listeners each day, almost like the album's living a life of its own. But now let's actually talk about the record's content. A major theme of the album obviously revolves around the World Trade Center and how people are dealing with collective sorrow. Joe refers to the project, not just the album, as a World Trade Center musical. What do I believe this all to mean? The album starts off with Introduction to the Snow, or show. A show played by Miracle Musical that is supposed to last forever. Like every play ever, we're introduced to a man and his female love interest. We get a piano, string-led introduction sung by Joe, including harmonies from the rest of the group. The way it's EQ'd sounds like something out of the 60s, quite similar to Hidden in the Sand. It was actually recorded in the freezing cold using a telemarketer style headset microphone. I believe this man and woman to be victims of the 9/11 tragedy, preparing to meet their fate and walk up these stairs as it's played on the album cover to heaven. Picture these two sitting at the edge of the universe, surrounded by these sparkling crystal souls or other dead souls. They almost feel lost in this sea of souls, a major scene. They're supposed to come together so they can live eternally in heaven. I'm religious, so I'm loving this already. Bringing us to Isle Upon Thyself, that on the surface describes the islands of Hawaii, because now that I think about it, it's a state that is quite lonely and separated from every other state by sea. We are introduced to the main character, Simon. Remember that name? This man expresses similar loneliness with his assumed lover being gone, possibly dead. He then hears a voice telling him to follow through the smoke after the building collapses. Maybe it's a human voice, or from God, who knows? These two worlds are on the verge of death, with the fear of being forgotten, left behind. He believes that death can come at any time now. Eventually, he does die, leaving his body behind as this island that lives on. As his soul flows through the river in the afterlife, he questions God about everything a human would want to know. This is surrounded by this heavenly atmosphere in the music, with this organ and the reverb of these vocals. Some stellar harmonies on this one, gives this ascending feel. But their love isn't lost yet. There's this remembrance of the times on black rainbows. There's several Hawaiian phrases that are translated to the colors of the rainbow. Here we meet the female, who draws the rainbows, giving off a pure spirit. The man draws them near, illustrating a picture of their love. I assume this is when the two truly connected now, as on White Ball, which is used to describe the moon on the album cover, which is also used to describe a crystal ball. Maybe it's these two engaging in a dance within a ballroom floor, singing back and forth towards each other. The song serves as a duet between Zubin and Stephanie for a reason. These classical strings and chords are giving off this playful storybook vibe, a love that is described as impossible bliss, a feeling that is almost too perfect to be true. What if they aren't in heaven at this point? And the past two songs are flashbacks to simpler times when they were happy as a couple alive, leading to murders, where that repeating piano note tells us something is wrong. Some suggest this is when the towers are struck. The couple is in the forest having an innocent picnic date, not knowing of this figure in the distance, the narrator who claims to have this middle ground where it's just observing everything, nothing suspicious here. The more the track goes on, the louder it gets. The pianos are slamming and quite distorted, peaking in the mix. My biggest complaint, gosh, it sounds harsh. This was done by Bora, who began by recording the piano part first. He played that back through his speakers, positioning them to face directly at the piano strings. To sustain resonance, he placed a barbell on the sustain pedal. While the piano strings reverberated, he captured their sound as the speakers reproduced the piano part. As the track goes on, the more insane the narrator starts sounding as he points out the obliviousness of the couple and that even a tree falling wouldn't be heard. They are so deep in the woods it wouldn't matter. The narrator describes this shadow that is so threatening that murderers even fear it. Once the twilight arrives, it cuts to an instrumental of complete chaos. From here, you can guess the narrator that later describes himself as the killer at the end takes both victims' lives. Now, who is this killer? I heard theories that it was Simon, who wasn't satisfied with the relationship and killed his partner due to infidelity, but I think it was the tower collapsing on the couple. In other words, a death that can't be controlled. Why else would it make murderers fear? It has to be devilish. By the end, you can hear police sirens indicating the rescue team responded to the tragedy. Surely that relationship was all for nothing as the rescue team looks for signs of life only to find no trees in sight. Okay, this is getting dark. If my interpretation is making no sense, just follow the lyrics. I'm going to put them on the screen to try and make myself seem smarter than I am. It's just a theory. The next track is Space Station Level 7 after an English translation. It features Bora giving a description of the stairway to heaven, basically. The track is mostly in Japanese besides the word heaven. I think that's intentional. It has an absolutely beautiful instrumental with choir vocals, soaring trumpets, pleasant strings, and warm drums. It sure sounds like an entrance to heaven. Sucks that it's one of the lowest rated tracks from the album. I think this sounds excellent. What jumps at me as well is the use of the word children. What if this couple was just a bunch of children celebrating young love? Verse 2 is pretty much God introducing the heavenly realm and asking them to sleep as they wait for them to arrive. I thought this couldn't get any darker. This might just be about an innocent young couple getting crushed during 9/11. This puts the mind electric in a strange place. It's one of the longest tracks on the record mainly because of the song basically repeating twice, once reversed and once forward. It's a palindrome. It includes a lot of samples to the point that people are going on sample hunts to find each one used. I'm getting flashbacks to everywhere at the end of time. It is only at the exact halfway point that you can actually understand what is being said. The reason is that the track is supposed to represent Simon's mind scrambling and playing tricks with itself. Maybe he is not actually dead, but is instead in a coma. This coma appears to be a court hearing that resembles reality where the protagonist is being accused of murdering his lover. A coma results from an injury to the brain. Due to the fact he is in a coma on the verge of death, he is mentally handicapped and completely insane. He is unable to speak properly and fails to defend himself. The judge Marvin, as identified in the demo, addresses him as resident minor. You're telling me they got a mentally insane minor defending himself in court? The judge orders Simon to be sent to a mental institute for the rest of his life. Another note is the first chorus that clearly describes the 9/11 incident again. He is reminded of the tragedy that just occurred. Even a sample of murderers plays. Eventually the boy is sent to shock therapy using an electric chair that I assume puts him out of his misery for good, signaling the end of this coma and his life. Bringing us to Labyrinth that sees our protagonist seemingly being trapped in between time. I don't know if this is the Catholic in me coming out, but I have an idea of what this means. I think he could be in some sort of purgatory where his sins need to be forgiven before going to heaven. Musically, it's completely different to everything else as it features rapping. That's right, we got a rap song on this record too. Welcome to Tally Hall. Shane does the rapping and Kay performs the hook, who I will mention as being the only credited features on this thing. He watches as his girlfriend flies away to heaven while he is trapped in this labyrinth. His only hope is using some sort of time machine to go back in the past to fix his mistakes. Maybe Simon is attempting to return to this human form and warn his lover of the danger that could occur if they have that picnic near the World Trade Center, saving both of their lives. However, there appears to be some sort of malfunction with this idea, as the outro continues to prompt the same message over and over. The sound is quite robotic sounding, including the vocoder and repetitive drum beat. Live the dream of the time machine forever. It can't be undone. Until a glimmer of hope, Simon is released from purgatory on Stranded Lullaby. However, he appears to be alone in this boat, sailing on the sea. He knows his lover is alone in heaven, while he is lost at sea trying to find his way there. Turns out this song was demoed in 2004 by Joe to his girlfriend when she was about to go to law school. His delivery is almost dead sounding, like he has lost all hope, but he rose anyway. We're almost going in a full circle here. The second track, Isle Upon Thyself, reflects this feeling of isolation and loneliness from the rest of the world. Not this again, I bet he says, bringing us to the final track, Dream Suite in C major. This features a reprise of the album's opening lyrics, where instead of living forever in this misery once again, he hears a siren in the distance, the sound of a goddess that leads him to the girl he loves dearly in paradise. Only she can make it right, so things will be different tonight. As they go together, flying to that heavenly place, there's more callbacks to other tracks like Space Station Model 7. Also, why does verse 3 sound like the Chickmunk song from Alvin the Chipmunks? You look quite divine tonight, here among these vibrant lights. The children fly toward the white moon. From here, the story reaches its conclusion. The two children live happily ever after, saying one more goodbye to Hawaii in search of new adventures. Based on this instrumental, I almost see this as the unexpected sequel to Hidden in the Sand. I'm hearing the water washing up against the shore, just like in that song. There's gotta be a connection there, especially when the judge was named Marvin in the Mind Electric demo. Goodness, maybe this is why you people like these guys so much. They really make you think about everything. Imagine if Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum was Hawaii Part 1 this entire time. Anyway, that's my theory of the album's storyline. Let's address the aftermath of its release. On May 19th, 2014, titled Hawaii Part 2 Part 2, which featured demos, alternative versions, and instrumentals of tracks from the original record. On August 23rd, 2014, their Twitter account hinted at the date 12/13/14. On December 12th, 2014, an animated music video for Isle Upon Thyself was released on YouTube. The following day, an animated music video for Labyrinth was uploaded. Labyrinth was also promoted with a PC-based video game of the same name developed by Wonder Fling Studios. And then the next day, an audio-only cover of Candle on the Water was shared on their YouTube page as a tribute in memory of D.M. Brown and Trevelyan Grace Campbell, both fans of Tally Hall. It's an electropop rendition of Helen Reddy's Candle on the Water, cut from the 2001 Disney movie Pete's Dragon, with a vocal lead from actress Laurel Stuckey, with additional background vocals from Joe. Only this song, Time Machine, Variations on a Cloud, and technically My Mind Electric have been performed live by Joe. On June 4th, 2015, a lyric video for The Mind Electric is uploaded. 2 days later, a video featuring Ross recording the drums for Black Rainbows was uploaded to their official Facebook page, celebrating Black Rainbow's Sing-Along Day. On September 11th, 2015, a music video for Variations paying tribute to the victims of 9/11 was released on YouTube. However, it was taken down from streaming platforms on August 13th, 2021. The original upload was also removed from YouTube, and re-uploads have had similar stories likely due to its subject matter. Then it made its return on September 11th, 2021, 2021, coinciding with the 20th anniversary of the World Trade Center attacks. Finally, on December 31st, 2015, Hawaii Party was released on Bandcamp. This album featured 9 8-bit renditions of songs from Hawaii Part 2 and served as the soundtrack for the Wonderling Labyrinth video game. Unfortunately, as of today, the game has been removed from Wonderfling. The project seemed to have been complete as Joe moved on to his comedy hip-hop album Joe Hawley the following year. He stated in 2018 that there will be no new music from Miracle Musical. The album has since been pressed to vinyl and has become more popular than ever. They currently boast 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify, with the final track Dream Suite in C Major sitting at 80 million streams. There's even a fan project paying tribute to the project called Hawaii Part X. This is a website featuring fan-created art, music, and written expressions inspired by the music. People like to crap on TikTok, but they can't lie. Without it, acts like Tally Hall and Miracle Musical would have never seen this sort of success ever, because now the album has completed its goal of having a life of its own. Wow, that was a lot of digging. Let me know if I missed any other details. I probably sounded like a crazy person making this, but I loved every second of it. I'm quite a fan of this album, and I can see myself continuing to replay it infinitely until I discover every detail. Tally Hall's debut is already growing on me a lot. Goodness, you freaks are gonna turn me into a stan at this point. Let me know if I should talk about the other Tally Hall side projects. I also plan to make videos about similar acts like Will Wood and Lemon Demon. Keep an eye on those. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, subscribe and like for more base content. I'll see you all in the next one. Make sure to love all and peace.
Thank you.